I'd like to talk about how to practice. And it's really important to know what you're going to be doing every minute while you practice. And one thing I'd like to say that may come as a big surprise, I see no reason, unless you're having to learn a lot of repertoire, to be practicing more than an hour, at the most 2 hours a day. That should be more than you ever need if you practice efficiently. If you're wasting time by repeating things over and over and over again until you get it right, chances are you don't know what you're doing. And another thing about practicing that is something to always keep in mind, never practice it in a way that is really difficult and challenging and hard. You don't want to do that. I've known students who, after an hour of practicing, come out of the studio, sweat is rolling down their face, and they say, "Boy, I had a workout." That is what I call lousy practicing. You should practice to make it easy. You should always practice easy. If it's really, really difficult, if it's really challenging, slow down. Use a metronome. Keep you slow. Now, I want to talk about the 4 steps of learning a new piece of music. Well, maybe before I talk about that, I have a general routine, and I think most people use this, and I like it a lot. I like to do my warm-up first, and you could incorporate in your warm-up the physical exercises, getting your shoulders going. I like to do that usually after I do vomit. Because my back is already somewhat stretched, and then I can work on my shoulders with the physical exercises. And so once I've done that, and I've done my warm-ups, which I've talked about before, the next thing to do is work on your repertoire. And so when you are encountering a new piece of music, it is really bad form to stick the music on your stand and start learning it like that. That is an absolute waste of time. What you do is take that music and put it on a desk and go through 4 steps. The first step, you can have a metronome with you if you want. You should go through the entire piece and make sure that you know all the rhythm. If there is any rhythm that seems somewhat complicated, make sure you understand how it works. Do it slowly with the metronome, build it up to the speed of the piece, whatever it is, but don't hesitate. Make sure you can go through the whole piece. You can maybe do one hand play the beats and the other hand play the rhythms of the piece, whatever it is. But there should be no hesitation whatsoever from beginning to end about rhythm. That's the easiest thing to figure it out. It's just pure academics. Then after you've learned the rhythm, the next step is a little bit more difficult. This you can do at a piano if you need to. And what I would recommend is that when you start doing the second step, play only one note on the piano, no others. And the only note you could play is the first note, and that's it. After that, it has to all be in your head. What I want you to do is learn all the intervals, be able to sing in your head or aloud the piece all the way from the beginning to the end. That is really, really important. I don't want you to hesitate. I don't want you to wonder what the next interval is. You have to really, really have it in your head. And that's really important. The bass is not going to play the interval for you. There is no way the bass can play a melody alone. It's not a piano. The keys aren't there. You have to be able to find these notes on this bass, and there's no way to do it unless you have the note in your head first and then you try to match it on the instrument. So that is really an important step. The second step is probably the most difficult, and it's the most important. Then, after you really, really know the tune, by then you're already forming some musical opinions about it, and you didn't even know it, but you're forming ideas about how you want to interpret the piece, what you and what you're going to do with it in terms of volume. And you, of course, if there's crescendos and diminuendos marked, you want to look at that and try to understand what they mean. And by then, I mean, you're really kind of forming some idea, because also you've been singing it in your head. And so you'll have some idea of what it is that the piece is trying to convey, what it is that you want to do with this piece, what the message of the piece is. So then you go to the third step. And the third step is all theoretical. And you need to do this because chances are that you might make some mistakes. And those mistakes are the most wonderful learning tool you can possibly have. It's better than all the lessons in the world because you're teaching yourself something that you'll never forget. And so the third step is bowing. Take a pencil at the desk and put in all the bowing that you think would make the piece easy. I'm going to repeat that. Put in all the bowings you need in order to make the piece easy. Put in all down bows and up bows where you think you might not remember whether you should be down or up. Make sure that all the bowings that you mark are bowings that will always remind you of what you should be doing when you finally put the music on the stand. If you put if you forget to put in a down bow or an up bow, and then you go on the stand and you can't remember, oh, was that supposed to be an up bow? You know, that's a waste of time. Make sure you have it marked. Don't skimp on any of the bowings. Some of it might seem ridiculous. You don't have to actually put a bowing over every single note. Just the ones that you really think that you might have to remind yourself about. Okay, so you got the bowings in, and you have to do bowings first. You can't do the fourth step before the third step because you need the bowings to know whether you're going to slur a bunch of notes together, because the fourth step is fingering. So if you have a slur over 3 notes, your fingering will be very different from having a slur over 2 notes. So you have to think about that. Put in any fingering that might make the piece easier. I'm going to repeat that. Put in all the fingerings that will make the piece easier to play. You want to make it as easy as possible, because what did I say before? Good practicing is easy practicing. Good practicing is easy practicing. Then, finally, after you've done this homework, and this doesn't have to be during your practice sessions, you can do this while you're sitting on the toilet. It really doesn't matter. You can do it anywhere. You can do it while you're having your meal and just keep the music aside and just start doing these markings. And by the time you finally put it on the stand, you'll be ready to play. You'll be ready to learn the piece. Now, when you start to play it, you'll say, oh, that bowing doesn't work. Okay, make sure you have an eraser, and then you erase it and you put in a better bowing. This is how you learn the art of bowing. And those kinds of experiences are experiences that you'll never forget, and they will really contribute enormously to your progress. So when you put it on the stand, play the piece through, but don't play it at the metronomic marking that you might have. Oh, I should have stated that if there's no metronomic marking on the music, write in something that you think would be comfortable. Write in something on the top of the music and say, put in a metronomic marking that you think you could do easily. Then play it at that metronomic marking. If it's a challenge, any kind of challenge, and you are hesitating anywhere, lower it. Do it slower. The idea is you want to keep it relaxed. You want to keep it easy. Oh, you say there's some passages in there, like 3 measures in this that are really, really challenging. And I can play most of the piece, but I get to those 3 measures. Oh my gosh, I can't do it at that metronome. Well, wait. Take those 3 measures, or take the 2 measures on either side of it, whatever. Isolate it, but keep the metronome going. Move it slower. Play those as slowly as you can. without hesitation, then put it up one click, play it again, then put it up another click, and play it until you, as many times as it takes to get to the metronomic marking of the whole piece, and then incorporate it in the whole piece. And you'll find that you'll be able to learn this piece much more quickly than you would if you had put the music on the stand right from the beginning and started doing all these other markings. I'm such a stickler about writing bowings and fingerings in music. I never do it for students. I've never ever written what I think is a good bowing, because I think that the art of bowing is something that you have to discover for yourself. And also, I think that my bowings may not work for someone else. I'm always very, very questioning about edited music that you buy, published music that's edited with bowings and so on. It's not necessary to follow that, because whatever bowings were put in there was probably for the bowings of the person who did the editing, and it worked for them, but it may not work for you. So it's really important that you have the opportunity to do all this discovery yourself.